Today's shout out is for Zuldinga. Narset versus Azusa. And we need another land there, but we should be able to get something going as long as we can get into that land. We are on the play here, so that's one less draw we can make. Alright, and there is the land that we needed, so not seeing any fast mana from Azusa, of course, which is always a blessing, because Azusa does tend to come down really quickly. Throw out a dragon fodder, ready for our commander to give those tokens prowess. Seeing a worldly tutor from our opponent at the end of our turn. And our opponent will be drawing into a Dryad Arbor with that, so we'll assume that they're not going to do anything else on turn 2. The Dryad Arbor is a creature land, so does come down with Summoning Sickness. 5 cards in hand for our opponent. Alright, a Wear and Tear, so obviously no targets for that at the moment. City of Brass into the Saheeli, I think is our aim here. And then we'll swing in with 1 token, they're not going to trade out the Dryad Arbor for it. Could swing in with both and have our Saheeli be completely wide open, but they're not going to turn in the Dryad Arbor anyway, they'll go for their commander here. So probably could have swung in with the tokens regardless. Okay, not another land. There is a Third Path Iconoclast though. Didn't see any additional lands from the Azusa there, curiously. So why don't we just go Jeskai Charm here, really slow our opponent down. We'll put the Dryad Arbor on top of their library. And obviously this is going to make us a token as well with the Saheeli. Buys us a turn to get into another land as well. So we screwed up their draw for the turn. Looks like they've got a 2 mana spell anyway. Okay, there's an Earthcraft, so they do have Earthcraft combo in the deck most likely. We do have an answer for the enchantment, of course. Still missing mana, and that's a Baral's Expertise. Luckily what we can do here is go for, not with that mana, if we make Is It mana we can go for Third Path Iconoclast, and then we can go after an enchantment with the Tear and point that at the Earthcraft so that they've got less mana for next turn, and that will trigger the Third Path Iconoclast and the Planeswalker, of course, so getting more tokens ready for our commander to come down. Okay, was just 4 mana our opponent needed here anyway. A Harmonise takes him into 1 land and a Magus of the Candelabra. So 4 cards in hand, not doing too well on the land front here. And our Azusa friend is getting all the time in the world. Luckily we did get into a land here, so Castle Ardenvale. And seeing as how our opponent's going slow, do we just set up with the Whirlwind of Thought here? Yeah, if we go Narset now, we can maybe go for the Whirlwind next turn and start swinging in with some 2/2s. So taking another point of damage to the City of Brass, and we will pass the turn at this. Alright, seeing some ramp now. That's a decent land in Nykthos. Shrine to Nyx allows our opponent into Green Warden of Marassa. And they grab back the Earthcraft with that, ignoring the Worldly Tutor and the Harmonise. Okay, there's an Empty the Warrens for us. So let's see here. I think we do just go for the Whirlwind of Thought, and we can Jeskai Charm on a creature. Probably the Magus to give it Summoning Sickness. Maybe just going for more tokens with the Dragon Fodder would be a good idea. Anyway, get down the Whirlwind of Thought. That is a non-creature spell, of course, so it will trigger the prowess on all of these creatures. And then we get even more tokens, as well as taking a damage from the City of Brass. Swinging our commander into the Green Warden of Marassa probably isn't a good idea, actually, unless we want to put that on top of their library so that we can start swinging in. Yeah, I think that's fine here, because we've got to turn 7 with only 4 lands, so we need to be making land drops as best we can, really, especially against a mono-green deck. Luckily, Azusa's been going pretty slow as well. So Narset triggers when we swing in with it, and let's Jeskai Charm. And once again, that can be the Green Warden of Marassa. They can recast that if they want to. But it will trigger the prowess again, as well as some card draw and some more tokens this time. And yeah, our opponent's seen the writing on the wall. It will give them less devotion with the Nykthos if this thing goes away, and obviously it means we don't lose our commander as well. Not the most convincing game, but we got to see what the deck wants to do. I think we'll try another one. Alright, up against a stronger deck, I imagine this time. Jeska and Tymna with a 1-lander, but a Brainstorm. Do we have lands on top? Yeah, let's try it. Go for an Is It land, because we've only got Is It cards available to us. And we'll play a Brainstorm, and that takes us into another land, so Young Pyromancer's probably our next turn. Let's go Mystic Confluence and Mishra's Onslaught on top. Alright, some fast mana, Ancient Tomb into the Rakdos Talisman, and then a Gamble. Alright, and we see a Diabolic Intent being discarded, ironically, to the gamble. We know what we're drawing into, don't have any more shuffle effects, unfortunately, so we're not going to get into a land next turn. Yep, not going too well for us this game. Now seeing a Grim Monolith and Mox Opal from our opponent into a Faithless Looting. Discarding a Dance of the Dead and Pyroblast, and of course our opponent gets into even more fast mana. Lacking on colours at the moment, only has access to 2 pips thanks to the Mox Opal. The Talisman of Progress is our next card, and just have to pray we actually get into a land. Another tutor in Enlightened Tutor this time. 1 card in hand, about to draw into what he tutors for though. Always curious about players like this, that you play a singleton card format so that there's a bit of randomness to the game, and then you just ram the deck full of tutors so you can go and grab whatever you want, so wouldn't you be happier playing Vintage or Legacy or something like that? I don't know, it always seemed funny to me, if you want your deck to be so consistent and do the same thing all the time, like they do in the 60 card formats where you can play sets of cards, then yeah, I don't know why you choose to play a singleton format in all honesty. Alright, there is a land for us. We do have a mountain, so it will come in untapped. Now we could hold up the Archmage's Charm to counter a spell next turn, that might be a good idea. We can always draw a couple of cards at the end of the turn to try and keep the lands coming. Okay, there is a Praetor's Grasp. So I'm guessing that that's going to go after Counter Magic. Although they don't have access to blue mana, do they? They don't get to use any mana for this. So I'm not sure what the plan is there. Maybe some removal they're going after. I'll let them do this. Yet another tutor, by the way. Maybe they can just go after a land with this and try and fix their colours a bit better. Alright, yeah, they went after a command tower and decided to play it. I'm assuming that that was ours. Yeah, there's nothing in the exile zone now, so it must have been that. So during the end step, we will go for triple blue into the Archmage's Charm, and that will draw us a couple of cards. Or we could go after the Sol Ring, couldn't we? Yeah, let's do that. Takes them down some mana. It ups our mana as well. And they tap down the Ancient Tomb for something there. Not sure what they would do here. Maybe Deflecting Swap. But Deflecting Swap won't be able to target anything else. So we do manage to take their Sol Ring away from them. And that means that we can hold up the Mystic Confluence during the next turn. Okay, Rapid Hybridization. So I think we're just holding up the Mystic Confluence again. I can't go Dragon Fodder into holding up Mystic Confluence, unfortunately. But again, we can hold up the card draw effects on that. Noteworthy, they haven't used the Wishclaw Talisman to go and grab a land, so they're obviously not wanting to give us the tutor effect there. A Timna the Weaver, we're probably okay to just Rapid Hybridization on that, because I think, pretty sure we can bounce a creature with that. Wishclaw Talisman, maybe going to be protection for the Timna. And just deciding to go through to the end step, so let's attempt some removal on the Timna. Obviously puts a Frog Lizard token in the way, and now Mystic Confluence will draw 2 cards and bounce the token back. Alright, gets us into Saheeli and Fierce Guardianship, so feel okay about getting our commander down. Rather be getting into a land if I can though. Maybe have to up the land count in this deck apparently. Alright, there's a Mana Crypt. So we'll drop the Saheeli. Then it can be Young Pyromancer after that, and that will obviously be good once we start casting instants and sorceries. I'm not going to go for the Wishclaw yet. Play out the Mana Crypt just in case we want to hard cast the Fierce Guardianship. Will also give us a Servo token, of course. So we'll be looking at getting down Narset next turn, I think, because we can get more card draw on the go once Summoning Sickness is away from her. A Goblin Welder will be able to trade out artifacts. And again, just passing the turn through to us. And we draw into Call the Coppercoats, which isn't going to be all that relevant this game, I wouldn't have thought. So we'll get down the Narset, make sure to hold up some red mana, because we'll go Dragon Fodder after this. And that will make us a couple of Goblin tokens, as well as triggering the Young Pyromancer and the Saheeli, each for a token. And Prowess is +1/+1 on all of our creatures. So swing in with our 2 creatures, a 3/2 and a 2/2. Our opponent goes down to 25, so hopefully they're only a couple of turns away from losing here. But they could combo off at any time. So tutor number 67, a Vampiric Tutor. Just going to hope that that is a non-creature spell that they're tutoring for, and we'll Fierce Guardianship that. Although maybe should have countered the Vampiric Tutor here, because it might be a means of getting an artifact into the bin for the Goblin Welder. So that might be a mistake. We'll hopefully be able to tell what our opponent did go for with the Vamp Tutor. And then playing out an opposition agent at the end of our turn, so if we get into a fetch, that's not going to be good. Alright, and there is an Underworld Breach, so I'm guessing that that is the tutor target, and we'll play the Fierce Guardianship without paying its mana cost, which will get us some more tokens. The prowess isn't going to be relevant, I don't think. Alright, and yeah, I thought it was a deflecting swat our opponent had previously, so does get to go for the Underworld Breach here, but has had to tap down some mana to do it, so I'm hoping that they can't go off here. Goblin Welder is in play, so might still be able to. They obviously changed the target of the Fierce Guardianship to the deflecting swat there, so this got countered, but it took the target away from Underworld Breach. So even if I'd gone for the counter on the Vamp Tutor, they did still have the deflecting swat to make that go through. So there's nothing we could have done there. Getting to play a gamble with no cards in hand means they want to put an artifact in the bin for the Welder. And that is a Lion's Eye Diamond with the Underworld Breach is a combo. So considering our mana was a bit goofy, we didn't do too badly there against Tutor Tribal. So activating the Goblin Welder, sacrificing the Monolith, floating mana beforehand. And all they do here is discard their hand, which had 0 cards in hand anyway, to the Lion's Eye Diamond. And that will make 3 mana for them. Then they can just play it continuously with the Underworld Breach and get the Lion's Eye Diamond back again. They do have to exile cards from the bin to do that, so I don't know if they do quite have infinite here yet. They've got a tutor available to them, not sure if they can draw into anything with it though. Well, they do have the Diabolic Intent, they could put something straight in hand with that. So that's what they're going for, sacrificing the Goblin Welder. Okay, and yet another combo, it's Grinding Station. This is what CEDH looks like if you haven't played CEDH before, or if you're interested in it. Just go after combos like this. So sacked a Mox Opal, milled a Tainted Pack, they've got Tainted Pack combo as well, milled a Wheel of Misfortune and a land as well, and now they've milled Arcane Signet and Aureox Salvages and a red Elemental Blast. So going for the Mox Opal again, exiling more stuff from the bin. And then with the untap trigger on the stack, they go for tapping the Grind Station again, sacking the Mox Opal. So milling now a Mana Crypt, and a couple of lands in City of Traitors and the Gemstone. So playing out Mox Opal again from the bin. And again with the Grinding Station, the untap trigger on the stack, they sacrifice the Mox Opal again. So this is infinite mana of any colour as long as they've got cards in the library. Seeing Wheel of Fortune, Ad Nauseam, and Mox Amber, all the CEDH stables. Mana Crypt this time. Grinding Station sees Smothering Tithe, Swords, and Cloudstone Curio, and this is just a loop here, so I'll just fast forward it at this point and we'll see what our opponent can do to us. Playing Aureox Salvages and returning an artifact card with mana value 1 or less from graveyard to hand, so that targets the Lion's Eye Diamond. Playing Lion's Eye Diamond from the hand, sacrificing the Talisman this time for a couple of lands being milled as well as Orim's Chant. Activating the Salvages again brings back the Lion's Eye Diamond to hand. Lion's Eye Diamond put back into hand with the Salvages and then playing it again. Sacrificing the Lion's Eye Diamond. So they had 4 floating mana there. Aureox Salvages brings it back. Making more mana with the Diamond and just bringing it back again. So they're obviously going up a mana every time they do that. Alright, so basically I've just sat here for a while and watched my opponent do this. He just does this over and over again as far as I can tell. I thought he was going to tutor for some kind of win con there, but basically he can just go for the Jeska, put the infinite mana into that, casting this forever, and minusing down on this to deal damage to us directly, and that's what gets us. Yeah, I assume that's what my opponent's doing anyway, I'm not quite sure. I mean, it would take forever to play this out on Magic Online, so we will call it a day there, and we'll see if we can go up against a deck that isn't CEDH. Up against Darian this time, and we've got all 4 lands for our commander. The Opt can hopefully get us into something decent, so we'll keep it. Go for a Tricycle land first of all, I think, so that we're not worried about our colours as much. Okay, draw into a land, so there we go for the Lightning Greaves, and if we don't get into anything next turn then it can be the Opt. There's a Tithe from our opponent getting into some planes. Well, we've got some more fast mana from our opponent, Ancient Tomb, into Mana Vault, into Grim Monolith. Alright, a Whisper-Soaked Cloak is half decent to get into on turn 3. We can go for that now. If we feel as though we have to go Narset into Lightning Greaves, then we can make tokens to get the Lightning Greaves off our commander so that we can equip this, because obviously you can't equip onto a shrouded creature. Our opponent is missing double white at the moment, but gets into it, well, a tapped mana with the Fabled Passage, so won't be able to get down the commander this turn. The 2 snow-covered lands that were tutored for are here, and yeah, they decided to play the Fabled Passage instead, curiously. We get back into the Jeskai Charm, so probably put that on the Darian whilst these 2 are tapped out, or at least one of them is. So yeah, let's shock down the Hallowed Fountain, and we can go for the Mishra's Onslaught at the end of our opponent's turn to make some tokens, otherwise go for the Jeskai Charm onto our opponent's commander. Alright, so now seeing one of the lands that was tutored for. Alright, and they decided to take life for the Darian, which means they might have a Pathra Swords for our commander, so down comes the Darian. That does mean that we'll be going for an Opt this turn as well. Okay, Elixir of Immortality gains some life. Darian on top of our opponent's library with the Jeskai Charm. And okay, they've got an Ephemerate, so don't think we'll be able to do anything about that, but we'll go for the Opt. That does mean that we're pretty open to going for our commander next turn. A Wheel of Fortune on top, I think we will definitely keep and draw into. We'll still be able to go for Narset with haste next turn, and tuck our opponent's commander with the Jeskai Charm, so don't think we'll be going for the Wheel of Fortune this turn. Then we get into another land, so drop that, play out the Narset. Lightning Greaves onto Narset to give it haste, and obviously it's protected from spot removal now as well. And now we've got access to... oh, it's less than Narset's power. I thought it was less than or equal to, so can't go for the Jeskai Charm. It will just have to be... do we want a Tithe? I think the Opt is fine here. So cast that. We'll put Prowess on our commander. And it's another Scry. Shark Typhoon is 2, 4, 5 and 6 mana we've got next turn, so keep that on top and hope our opponent doesn't go too fast for us. We do have a means of refilling our hand now, of course. So making a bunch of soldiers, which I obviously didn't think they'd be able to, because I was hoping that we'd be getting rid of the Darian. And then Rebound shouldn't do too much of anything here on the Ephemerate. Decided to target their commander anyway, so they don't plan on swinging in at us, because that now has Summoning Sickness. We'll take 1 damage to the Mana Vault, which will make another token. Playing a different basic there, so we know that they've still got 1 in hand. Ajani's Welcome. And swinging in at us with those 4 tokens that we've just given him. So best going for a shock land here so that we don't have to take life to that later on. It can be the Steam Vents because we do have blue in hand. Okay, and just another land for us. So Command Tower, and I think we just have to keep going slow. Let's try the Shark Typhoon Prowess on the Narset, and that will allow us to go for the Jeskai Charm this time. So we'll force our opponent to recast the Darian. Swing in, we've only got a 1-1 to worry about. Go after the Jeskai Charm, because our commander obviously got the +1 buff from us casting the Shark Typhoon this time. And target creature on top of the library, Darian. And we'll hope that our opponent doesn't have protection again. Triggers the Prowess on Narset again, which I don't think is going to be relevant, but we do get a 3/3 Shark Typhoon token. So that will allow us to remove the Lightning Greaves from the Narset if we want to. And we do successfully manage to put our opponent's commander not on top of the library, that is in the command zone instead. Tapping down 2 mana might be a disenchant. Nope, they went for Elixir of Immortality, so gaining some life and shuffling their graveyard into the library. I suppose you might as well, if you're not doing anything else with the mana. Playing the basic that we knew they had in hand, still 3 cards in hand over there. And I assume that this is the commander. They're holding on to Ancient Tomb mana, so we'll assume that that's for after the commander's hit play. And there it is, they've tapped down both of their rocks that will stay tapped now, so that does put them on less mana. Swinging in with the soldier tokens, one of which we can block, will take 4 damage and go down to 28. Alright, just another land for us, so do we take advantage and try and put the Whispersilk Cloak on the Narset here? Yeah, I think that's fine, because we can go for the Mishra's Onslaught. Although we won't be able to flash it back with the Narset, will we? Anyway, Whispersilk Cloak, drop Polluted Delta, and there's every chance we get into a 1-drop, so we could go Wheel of Fortune, play the 1-drop, Narset will be big enough to play the Mishra's Onslaught, maybe? Or we could wheel again if we don't like the cards that are in our hands, so yeah, let's go for the wheel now. It's risky giving our opponent a full grip, but it'll get us into stuff as well, of course. So Prowess on the Shark token and our commander, and we get another 3/3 Shark Typhoon token. Alright, our opponent discarded a Lunarch Veteran, a Beacon of Immortality, and a Sculpting Steel. There we see a Brainstorm, so that's a 1-drop for the Narset to get us into the Mishra's Onslaught if we want to. Maybe just going for Dragon Fodder is alright, although holding up Arcane Denial is an even more intelligent idea, I think. So yeah, we'll just swing in here, but we're not going to flash anything back. Oh, and in all my yammering, I forgot to give this haste, but probably best to hold it back anyway. We can go for our opponent's stuff though, so let's just grab the Sculpting Steel from our opponent's graveyard whilst we're not doing anything else. Cast that without paying the mana cost, we'll make another token and trigger Prowess some more. And we could make more mana from Grim Monolith or the Mana Vault, which might be good with Mystic Confluence to draw some more cards. Or we could make another Lightning Greaves. I'm going to go for the Grim Monolith here. That way we can play Mystic Confluence, draw some cards, and I think it's just better to be able to play the Mystic Confluence and maybe even get it in the bin. Darian taking 2 life at the end of the turn to make some more soldiers. Obviously wanting to go wide on us if he can. So Johnny's welcome, making some more life. We're seriously looking at commander damage from our opponent. We've got them at 14 here, so not necessarily too worried about that. If they get some kind of buff effect on all these tokens, then yeah, it's probably worth going for a counter on that. Taking more life to the Mana Vault, but then the token enters and gains the life from a Johnny's welcome, so staying at the same life total here. Okay, and our opponent just decided to scoop, and I've been kicked out into the lobby. I don't see what my opponent could have done there, to be honest. Any kind of mass land destruction we would have countered. Like I said, any sort of overrun effect, any kind of buffs on the tokens so that they could go wide on us, we would have countered that as well. So yeah, not entirely sure what my opponent had planned, but I don't think they could have done much of anything to us, to be honest, once we had the control in hand. So I think that was a decent showing for Narset Enlightened Exile. Hopefully you all enjoyed it as well. Huge thank you to the patrons for their constant support of the channel, as always. I'm tribalkai. Thank you for watching.